Editor Ria here. I forgot to mention during the actual recording process that the Dungeons and Taverns skeleton and piglin camps have changed since the update in which I recorded that episode. And I'd also like to say sorry if you hear any weird screeching noises. I'm not sure what's causing it, but I'm hoping to fix the issue by next episode. Anyways, let's get into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to my survival world. It's me, Ryasune, and today we've made it to over 1,000 days on this world. Technically, we hit 1,000 days while recording the end of the last episode, but the majority of that was prior to hitting 1,000 days, so I thought I would announce that this episode. On the wall behind me, I prepared the Adventurers board in the Adventurers Guild, and I got the idea from someone else to put the usernames of people who have donated to support my channel on there. So if you'd like to donate and support my channel, I will put your name up on the Adventurers board. There's not a lot of space, so not very many people will probably be able to do it. And I also won't put your username on the board if it's bigoted or offensive. But I'll put a link to donate in the description below if that's something you'd like to do. My main goal that I'd like to achieve during this episode is to take this plains biome over here and transform it into an old growth spruce taiga. Obviously, we won't be able to change the biome color, but we can introduce all the different taiga biome foliage. And as you might have noticed, I've got 2 foxes in my village that I'm hoping I can use to populate the taiga biome. Between episodes, I did end up building another one of these bridges to cross this river here in a spot that will be a little bit more convenient to ride the horse across the river. So another thing that I'd like to do this episode is to make a mud farm so we can expand these roads easier. Designing a mud farm myself is not something that I would be able to do, so I'm probably going to head down into the cave where we've got our snow farm and clear out some space there to make a mud farm, and then I'll follow a tutorial to make the farm, and I'll be back with you once it's complete. I ended up choosing a tutorial for a farm that didn't use 9 stacks of glass bottles, which is this farm right here, but I already managed to break it. I somehow fixed it by messing around with it, but it does seem to be slower and more susceptible to malfunction than the other mud farm that I've built in the past. So I think I might end up taking this out and replacing it with the faster and more reliable one. This circuit here with the pistons, though, is something I did come up with myself, so I'm kind of proud of that, even though it's extremely simple. I also updated my shader pack, so now we have the Chase the Skies themed clouds. For our forest project today, I'm thinking that we can get rid of this lone cherry tree right here, extend the forest to about here, past this strange geological formation, which I'm thinking might be a good spot to turn into a lake, though I definitely want to get rid of this weird ledge if I do that. But maybe we can bring the edge of the forest along here somewhere, and maybe just along this little ridge line here, and maybe down to this little pocket of water here with this other unusual cave. This is something that will definitely take a lot of various plants that can be found within the old growth taiga biome. We'll definitely be needing a lot of ferns, saplings, and brown mushrooms. I don't have a whole lot of brown mushrooms right now, but with one podzol we can just easily bone meal a regular mushroom to get one of the large ones. Within the cliff tree old growth taiga, the ground is completely covered in podzol and coarse dirt, so we'll also have to gather a lot of coarse dirt to replace all the grass that isn't turned into podzol. I'll grab some spruce saplings, a brown mushroom, and a little bit of dirt so we can make ourselves some podzol, and then we can grow some more brown mushrooms. I'm hoping that we'll be able to let the mushrooms spread by themselves in the forest if we have enough spots that are covered by the tree canopy, so that we don't have to manually place all of the mushrooms ourselves. I don't believe I currently have a silk touch shovel, so I'm just going to use my pickaxe to break this podzol real quick. I guess this little corner here is as good a place as any to grow our mushrooms. So I'll bone meal this, and hopefully we'll get a fair number of mushrooms. I completely forgot that the mushroom stem block does not drop brown mushrooms, so I guess I could probably just grow a few more just in case. Assuming that the mushrooms spread themselves, 35 is probably a lot more than we'll end up needing, but it's better to have more than we need and not use it than not have enough and need it. Before we start placing any of our saplings and getting any of our podzol and coarse dirt down, I definitely want to start by clearing out the existing flora in the area that we'll be building our forest. I'm actually not going to use fire because I'd like to grab at least a stack of this grass, and all these flowers are pretty much free bone meal, so we'll grab them instead of just burning them down. That said though, it might not be a bad idea to use water to flood the area and break all these petals here, so we don't have to go around and do it manually. Oh my gosh, I've already got almost a full inventory of stuff. I believe I've cleared out all the pink petals, so I'm gonna go compost those, and we can start working on clearing out all these sunflowers. Within my storage room, I already have a stack of pink petals, and I haven't gotten to any point where I need to place more than a stack of them at once, so we probably don't need to keep a hold of all these pink petals we just collected. Any sunflowers over a stack, we can also compost, and that will go for the dandelions as well. I'm thinking I'll leave these pumpkins, as pumpkins are a plant that spawns naturally within the taiga biome, so we'll not get rid of those, so we don't have to put in the extra work of placing them back if we were to want them. This is probably a trust the process sort of moment, but my goodness does this look weird. And it's definitely going to get even weirder once we start removing all the grass to make way for the ferns. We can preserve a few stacks of grass with our shears here. And we can use our water bucket to destroy the rest. Making sure to save any bushes we come across would be nice as well. I've never done anything like this before, so this project quite definitely has me outside of my comfort zone. I'll leave these firefly bushes here, as I'm pretty sure they spawn in taiga biomes as well. And here we have our very blank canvas ready to be painted with forest. I'll make a few adjustments to the terrain, and then we can start to get planting our forest plants instead. I've made the changes I wanted to make to the terrain, and I've also started to grow some sweet berries so we can dot around the forest for our foxes. But now that all the land is prepped, we can go grab our saplings and start planting. I'll grab these from plant storage, And I'll also grab this floppy here, as they've been broken for a little while in vanilla Minecraft, so this one probably won't wander off when we reload the world. It inexplicably is functioning again, so maybe I'll just put it back for the moment until we get its forest actually prepared and ready. I'd like to extend the road out of Fopswell leading this way through the forest, so I'm thinking that maybe we can start on this edge so we've got a spot for our path later. I think I'll first start by placing some of our older trees around before working into our younger trees. I've already managed to more or less run out of spruce saplings, so I'll probably spend the next little while growing some large spruce trees, and I'll bring over my allay to help me collect these saplings, and then we can continue to populate the forest. This will also give us time to have these trees grow up, and we can see how it looks. In vanilla Minecraft, there are two types of old-growth taiga biomes that utilize these spruce trees. These ones are all part of the old-growth pine taiga, well, except for the white one that just grew. But I'd like to go for the old-growth spruce taiga, so I'm going to be chopping all these ones down, and hopefully we can get ones that look like that one instead. I'll have to check my creative world to verify whether or not they exclusively have one tree type. But I do know that the old-growth spruce taiga, which is the one I'm going for, at least mostly has the bushier, fluffier trees. So I'll be cutting these other ones down, and hopefully we can get mostly these ones instead. I didn't end up continuing to record the tree planting process, as just getting the composition of this patch of trees here took me 5 hours. The pine variant of these 2x2 spruce trees grows more commonly in the biomes I'm working in than the spruce variants, and to stay true to the old growth spruce taiga, I had to make sure that I had more of the spruce variant trees than the pine variant trees. Chopping down so many trees means that I now have over 90 stacks of spruce logs, and I've mined over 9,000 spruce logs at this point. Now that we have all of our big spruce trees in, I think I want to replace all this grass with coarse dirt, and then we can move into planting our 1x1 spruce trees. I'll probably not record that either, as it might end up being as tedious as planting all the big ones, but hopefully it will go better than planting all the 2x2 trees in the area. I'll grab all of my coarse dirt, and I think I'll also make myself a diamond shovel too, and I might as well enchant it with silk touch, just in case. I'll grab one of our books and an emerald, and we can buy a silk touch from our archivist, who is once again stuck in the corner here. I'm also considering expanding the forest this way and filling this strange little gap in with water, and we can have forests on this island too. Though I'm pretty sure that'll be an off-camera task, as this has already taken me as long as it has. In hindsight, maybe silk touch was a bad idea, as that means we will be getting grass instead of dirt, so it'll be more of a tedious process to convert into coarse dirt. Though I could always just make myself a normal diamond shovel as well. I decided that once I reached a stack of grass blocks, I did indeed want a non-silk touch diamond shovel, so I've just come back to make that real quick, and I'll dump these grass blocks off in my dirt storage here, and we'll go back to the forest and continue replacing our grass with coarse dirt. As you can see here, I've also gone ahead and filled this little hole in the ground with water, and I've also turned the bottom of the pool into mud, as that makes it look deeper. And once I'm on the detailing phase of this build, I'll go back in and add some seagrass and maybe some lily pads as well. I'm opting to not replace the side dirt with coarse dirt, as I'm pretty sure the coarse dirt only generates on the surface layer in the actual biome. I've run out of coarse dirt, so I'm gonna head back to the Adventurers Guild and craft up some more, and we can continue working. We might have to end up going to gather more gravel, as I'm not sure if I have enough to supply me for the whole conversion of the grass, but if we do, finding more shouldn't be too hard. I've just run out of coarse dirt again, so it's time to head down into the mines and get some more gravel. That said, I'm really enjoying how this place is coming along, even as incomplete as it is. I think having this forest here has definitely made this area a much more comfortable place for me to be in my world. Something about having a forest here just makes this place feel a lot more like home for whatever reason. I guess the silk touch will come in handy for getting the gravel, as that'll allow us to avoid getting any flint instead. No. Oh. I'm not too confident that this much gravel will last us for the entirety of the biome conversion, but with a full inventory, I think I'm just gonna head back for now and keep on working on the forest. I suppose I might as well store my excess stuff in here for now, along with all my logs. I don't think I've ever actually had so many of one block before in Minecraft, so having over 90 stacks of logs is pretty crazy for me. I just realized I've lost my allay somewhere, so I'm hoping it just got locked in one of the buildings over there instead of getting lost when I went to go grab gravel. I have no idea how long it's been since I had it floating around me, so hopefully I'll be able to find it without too much difficulty. Oh, there's my allay. Was it just hovering around this hill this whole time? That's so weird. Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't lose it somewhere where it wouldn't be easy to find, at least. Oh my goodness, my shovel breaking gave me a jump scare. I knew this would be a big project, but for some reason I didn't expect to go through an entire diamond shovel before finishing the conversion of all the grass blocks to coarse dirt. So I'll continue working, and I'll meet up with you all again once it's time to put in the decoration bits. Now that we've got all of our 1x1 spruce trees in a state that I feel is a good composition for the forest, we can start working on our surface details. I definitely want to start with the nursery logs and the various boulders that are scattered around, so I'll grab just a stack of spruce logs. We probably won't need the whole thing. Some cobblestone and mossy cobblestone, and some moss from the Adventurers Guild, and we'll start putting those things in. I'll grab a couple stacks of each, just in case I need more than I expect. We'll grab our moss carpets, and we'll also grab a few mushrooms as well. Oh my goodness, it appears to be a thunderstorm, so I should probably sleep before lightning strikes and burns my forest down. That would be really sad, after all this work I put into it. Hopefully I can get to my bed without creepers spawning. Oh goodness, there's already one there. Ah, run away. Oh my gosh, there's already fires. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so annoying. On the bright side, the creeper hole is outside my forest, but I still hate having to repair them after creepers explode. I'll grab some more dirt from my chest in the forest and we can repair that hole real quick before we get back into working on the forest itself. We should also be wary of any creepers lurking within the forest, as I did see multiple on our way through to grab our bed. Though, if we were back out at spawn, they probably would have despawned. So I'm assuming it's safe. I'd like to first start off with our nursery logs, as they're probably the least common detail within the old growth spruce taiga, so I think it'd be easier to start off with them first and then work into the more common details like our boulders and our ferns. We'll put a moss carpet and maybe a mushroom, and we can continue putting more around. I'm hoping that I can be careful about where I put these so they look like they're in places that trees would have been previously. Though I suppose that's not a strict rule when it comes to the ones you can find in a naturally generated forest. I also want to be careful when I'm placing these to make sure I'm not taking space away from where our boulders will be going, as those take up more space than the nursery logs do. I think we've got a good amount of nursery logs in, so we can put this wood back in the chest we got it from, and we can start on our boulders. I've noticed that the cliff tree boulders are a lot more irregular than the ones you can find in vanilla, so I'm hoping that I can replicate that here as well. I think getting these boulders in might be the most difficult part of making this forest look natural, so hopefully I can get it right. I definitely like to place some on the shoreline here as well, so that they're visible from the river. And I definitely like the idea of having a number of them along the path as well. While building these boulders, I would also like to mention that I did go back and double check to confirm whether or not the coarse dirt had regular or coarse dirt underneath it, and it did indeed have coarse dirt underneath it, so I had to go back and replace all the dirt underneath the coarse dirt. But that was fortunately less time consuming than I had been worried about. I've just noticed that I've also pretty much run out of mossy cobblestone, so I'll make another trip back to our Adventures Guild, and we'll keep on putting our rocks in. Somewhat ironically, I feel like putting the boulders in has made the forest feel a little bit emptier, but I think it's just because of the contrast between having the boulders and the lack of all the smaller foliage that you would normally find within an old growth spruce taiga. Having so many different boulder shapes that Cliff Tree introduces definitely makes the process of putting these rocks in a lot more difficult than what it would be in vanilla, where all the boulders are more or less the same shape, but I think it'll be worth it. I'm thinking we probably got good boulder coverage at this point, so I'm gonna grow a few more large brown mushrooms to get the small ones, and then we can spread them around the forest. 42 is probably more than we need, considering the mushrooms will spread in shaded areas by themselves, so we only need to dot a few around, but it's good to have extra just in case we need them for something else later. I'm only using brown mushrooms for this, as when I was checking the naturally generated forest, I don't remember finding any patches of the red mushrooms lying around on the forest floor. So the brown ones are what we'll be using to decorate. I'll also grab our sweet berries, and we can dot them around the forest floor too. The sweet berry bushes appear to generate less commonly within old growth spruce taigas than they do in the regular spruce taigas, so I'll have to use them sparingly. But having these sweet berry bushes around should keep our foxes happy and healthy. And now that we've got those items in, I think it's time to move on to adding all of our ferns. This is probably the part that I'm dreading the most, to be honest, as I don't really have a very good supply of bones, so I'm not entirely sure I'll even have enough bone meal to put a sufficient amount of ferns in the forest. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab all my bones, all of my ferns, my grass as well. And I think I'll also grab a little bit of redstone so I can set up a super simple fern farm to help the process a little bit. I'm also going to move these pumpkins elsewhere, as currently they're in the middle of where I want our roadway to go. We can just plop them about here, maybe. Yeah, that should be good. I'll grab my dispensers, a button, and then we can just set this up here real quick. It works! Oh my goodness, I was not expecting that redstone line to be able to power all these. Though it does appear that I forgot some shears, so I should probably grab those if I want to harvest any ferns. I suppose I could have used these shears, but I want to keep them for when I set the bee farm back up, so we'll just use the new ones we've crafted. Truly riveting gameplay. This ought to do it. I'll quickly convert half a stack of bones into bone meal so we can create double tall ferns and we can get planting. Sometimes our ferns will generate in large clusters of tall ones, and other times they'll just be more scattered out like what I'm doing right now. I'm thinking maybe in here could be a good spot for a cluster of ferns. Oh my goodness, how have I already gone through almost a stack and a half of ferns? This is crazy. It's good to see our mushrooms are spreading in the forest though. See how I only have 5 ferns left and I've only done about half of the forest? That's why I was worried about this stage of the project. I guess that means it's back to farming more ferns. Oh. I've used the last of my bone meal and the last of my ferns. And I still have this whole chunk of forest left to do from the road out to this edge. So I'm gonna get some more bones to make some more bone meal and get some more ferns, and we'll finish it up. All I can say right now is that I really wish I was as prepared to put in all these ferns as I now am to build more houses out of wood. There's no way 40 bone blocks isn't enough to satisfy my bone meal needs, right? Surely nearly 2 stacks of ferns will be enough to finish the forest. That additional 2 stacks was not enough. I'm gonna lose it. Oh my gosh. Putting in all the ferns is finally done. This took me so much bone meal, and it also took me almost my entire stockpile of bone blocks that I just gathered. All that's left to do now is to sprinkle in the occasional tall grass piece, and the forest itself will be finished. I've just placed down the last of my grass, and I ended up using the last of my bone blocks, which means the forest floor is finally done. There are a few more things that I'd like to do before wrapping up the episode, but with as long as I've already recorded, I think I'll do those things off camera and I can show those off to you once they're complete. So I'll get those things done and then we can wrap up the episode. I've finished up the things I want to complete before wrapping up the episode, so let's have a look. First of all, we now have our eastern bridge linked up to Fopswell via this road here. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with it yet, but I think adding something along this road would be nice. I've also gone ahead and linked this bridge up to the forest and installed a pathway. I've also got this bridge here over this ravine, which I'm not entirely satisfied with it, and I might change the design later, but I'm not really sure how to improve it other than just decorating it like we have with the first bridge we made. Along this path we have a second wooden bridge that's supposed to be inspired by the kinds of bridges you might see along a hiking trail, so very rustic and wooden. I struggled a lot with this bridge, and the midsection is still a little bit wonky, but the rest of it I'm pretty happy about. I'll probably come back in and decorate this with azalea leaves and glow lichen. We also have decorated our little lake here in the middle of the forest, and I've added these bubble columns to almost look like springs where the water could be coming in to fill this to explain how it continues to flow out to the river. The path currently goes all the way through the present extent of the forest, and I definitely do want to increase the size of the forest, but that would be something I work on in the background as opposed to making another episode, as this episode itself had 5.5 hours of raw footage to edit. I've also got some more foxes here, and I was trying to breed them and not interact with them to prevent them from trusting me, but it seems that no matter what you do, if you breed foxes, the offspring will trust you. And lastly, we have our newest addition to the village, our fisherman's house. The fisherman was the extra one that we had down in the mine area, and now we've got this cute little house for him. Underneath here is just a little nook where the fisherman has some crab pots and actual pots, and up here we've got a cozy little interior. I got these 2 fish in a fish tank, which I'm glad I was able to figure out how to make this work with pistons. And we've got a colorful little rug here that's supposed to sort of look like the beach. And we have a cute little bedroom up top. I'm hoping that once we install the village wall, we'll still be able to get a glimpse of the forest from this window here. I've also got this cute little garden with oxeye daisies and our azalea leaves like we've been doing elsewhere in the village. And the fisherman has his own little stand with a cod. Our last task is to move those 4 foxes into the forest itself, so I'll grab a couple more leads and we can go do that. With the berries in the forest, I'm hoping that these foxes here will remain in the forest instead of wandering off, so that we don't end up having to go find new ones later. That said, I think a feature that would be really awesome would be if you could have passive mobs have a home location that they wander around, sort of like the Happy Gas has now, so they don't wander too far from where you leave them. I'll bring these 4 foxes to the middle of the forest, and then we can let them run free. I don't know how to use leads clearly, because they're all tied together now. Shears seem to do the trick just fine. Hopefully these foxes here will enjoy their new home. And with that, it's time to end the episode. This episode took me the most work of any episode I've done so far. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!